Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with that second video just to make you think. And this one is on IBM Watson. Of course, basically about machine learning. We know we have Ben Gertzel working on Sophia. But guys, you have to remember they have to have one brain. Remember, they always talk about global identity. I've done plenty of videos on global identity. Now, basically, we have to have that brain. And I know a lot of people have seen the movie Eagle Eye where it had that brain. And that's what IBM Watson is about. And you constantly see commercials powered by IBM, powered by IBM. And these are big conglomerate companies. Now, the fact is that basically when you're looking at machine learning, yes, they're not programming this machine. What they're doing is that they're giving this machine algorithms and information. So this machine is learning the same way we're learning, because that's what happens with us. We're given steps, especially as a child, and we're giving information, and we download that information, and then we do whatever task we're trying to do. And that's the same way they have these computers now. So these computers are learning like humans. So that's the reason why they'll be able to replace attorneys, doctors, call center workers, retail workers, truckers. Guys, these robots, algorithms, AI can do everything that we can do just a whole lot faster. Are these computers smarter than us? No. But clearly, we're not living up to our potential. So if we allow this one brain to control all these identities, of course, we'll have those few hands, the few families really have total control over the globe. So that's the real reason why they want to bank the unbanked. And that's to build one big computer so they have total control. Now, guys, I'm going to leave you with John Kelly from IBM Watson. Y'all enjoy the video. And please like and subscribe and spread this video everywhere.
What you're about to see is something that no one else has ever seen other than people deep in my research labs. Many of you remember Watson, the artificial intelligence machine on the game of Jeopardy! At the time, it was an open domain question and answer system at the forefront of artificial intelligence. Fast forward to today, what you're going to see is Watson has ingested all of Wikipedia and not only answers questions, but reasons over that and can form opinions on any subject.
Okay, let's, so the tech guys can make it turn on for us. There we go. And I believe it has an introduction going on first.
Watson?
Is it going to do it? Is it going to happen?
Let's go. Watson, please start.
Welcome to the IBM
Can someone please
Research
click the
Procon
magic
demonstration. Today we will demonstrate
let's
some
sit
of
while
our
we wait.
capabilities in generating arguments for or against specific
I think
topics.
the audio's going to the wrong
To
place.
proceed, please select a topic.
Okay, let's go ahead and do Wikipedia is reliable pro speech.
Scanned approximately 4 million Wikipedia articles, returning 10 most relevant articles. Scanned all 3,000 sentences and top 10 articles. Assessed pro and con polarity of candidate claims. Ready to deliver. Thank you for the opportunity to share my view about this interesting topic. It is always good to start with some background. The reliability of Wikipedia, compared to other encyclopedias and more specialized sources, has been assessed in many ways, including statistically, through comparative review, analysis of the historical patterns, and strengths and weaknesses inherent in the editing process unique to Wikipedia. My opinion is that Wikipedia is reliable, and I would like to state a few simple reasons for that. Its editors and contributors provide identification. Another reason is that Wikipedia provided better coverage in longer articles in general. These claims are supported by the scientific literature. For example, an early study conducted by IBM researchers in 2003, 2 years following Wikipedia's establishment, found that vandalism is usually repaired extremely quickly, so quickly that most users will never see its effects, and concluded that Wikipedia had surprisingly effective self-healing capabilities. I'm sure that my time here was not wasted, and I hope I have convinced you to support my view. Wikipedia is reliable. Thank you for listening.
That's to make high school kids everywhere so happy. Wikipedia's reliable. We can use it on papers. Okay, so that's good. But I'm very curious. When you ingest that much data into Watson, 4 million articles, how do you train it to understand how to formulate questions and answers? So do you say, I want you to answer this, and then do you train it? Or does it automatically understand how to pull out different topics from a data set that it has?
All you do is give it a topic, Alex. What you just saw, Watson was not trained in that domain. We gave it the corpus of information in Wikipedia. We gave it a topic and said, form an opinion on this topic. It went through and organized all the information. It understood the context of all of the passages in Wikipedia, took apart all the syntax, reassembled it, and then machine-generated the language.
How does it understand a concept like authenticity or accuracy or what's good about Wikipedia? How does it understand those concepts so it can actually pick how to argue its own position?
Yeah, so it looks for multiple scenarios and reinforcing information. So, for instance, I was surprised to hear it reference IBM research working in that area.
That's a little self-referential, but we'll let it slide.
So what it did was it found some passage in Wikipedia, and then it went off and validated that that was a legitimate scientist from IBM research before it would say it. So it's constantly looking for verification of what it's about to say is correct.
So is that piece of technology we just played with, is that currently something that people can use in the market, or is it more of a forward-looking thing you haven't actually released yet?
That's a forward-looking, which will be available as a service. Let me remind you all that at the time of Jeopardy, Watson was a large computer system in a room. Since that time, we have taken Watson apart, if you will, lifted it up to the cloud.
Sure.
It's available as a set of services and APIs so that everyone in this room can now go out and start to compose their own mini Watsons, if you will, in the application space.
How long until that's not forward-looking but actually in the market? Is it a 6-month question? Is it a 3-year question? How far away are we from having that out?
Yeah, so this is probably 12 to 18 months or so away from being in the market.
Okay.
Now imagine, though, that's a sort of a trivial example of Wikipedia. Remember that in the area of healthcare, Watson has ingested almost all of the world's medical domain. So if you give Watson a disease topic, it will go into all published PubMed medical journals and form opinions on diagnoses or drug discovery.
So I was doing some research for our chat today, and I found a really fun old story. Nikita Khrushchev, the old Russian premier, actually came to an IBM facility down in San Jose.
That's right.
And they rigged up, this is back in the 50s, I think.
That's right.
And they actually rigged up a computer that he could ask questions of back in like 56, 57. So you guys have been on this one problem, question, topic for decades and decades and decades. And have you solved it? Is it done now, or are you still making progress on the issue?
Yeah, that's a great question. So prior to Watson, everyone in the artificial intelligence community had tried to solve open domain question and answer by writing a bunch of rules-based learning, or organizing the information for search.
Sure.
That had very limited success, and it really wasn't until we took a full open domain statistical approach and taught Watson natural language that it was able to answer questions in open domain.
Okay, so on that point, I've heard more about AI and cognitive computing in the last 6 months than the last 6 years.
Right.
It does seem to be there's a moment going on in technology in this space, your domain, really.
Yes.
Why are we seeing innovation grow so quickly right now? What's changed in our approach, maybe, that's allowed us to do this?
I think we're sort of at sort of the proverbial perfect storm here. Much of the world's information is now digitized, including natural language in areas like healthcare, law, et cetera. So computers can now access it. We now have the compute power to do something like you just saw. We did not have that a few years ago.
So just the raw metal capability
and then
to push that many calculations.
Yeah, and what has really changed then in the area of artificial intelligence is areas like machine learning, statistical analysis are now advanced to the point where we can do things like you saw there. That was not the case a few years ago.
And just to make sure that I understand it correctly, machine learning is one of the things Watson can use as part of its technology stack, if you will. It's one of the building blocks of Watson itself.
That's right.
Okay.
Think of Watson as a whole series of statistical learning engines. It's not one thing. And it's constantly computing and trying to learn over information. We do not program Watson. We give Watson data, or we give Watson better data, but we do not go in and reprogram it. We give it better algorithms or better machine learning, but we don't reprogram how it operates.
So you give it a stronger brain over time, but you don't tell it what to think,
We do not tell it what to think. It learns over the information.
Now that all that's out of the way, we can talk about the future.
Oh, great.
Thank God. I'm going to go ahead and presume you don't think that AI or cognitive computing is going to end humankind as we know it. Because there's been some talk from Elon Musk and a lot of other luminaries about what this looks like and should we be worried? Do we have to build defense against this? But given what we talked about, this seems relatively benign and just more industrial than aggressive.
Yeah, you know, I think that when any new technology comes along, people will get worried. And of course, technology can always do great things or not so great things. It depends on how we use it and how we control it. You know, whether that was the steam engine, locomotives, automobiles, X-rays, you name it. This is a brand new technology. It's going to change the world. There is no question in my mind. But when you think about what this technology can do, I mean, fundamentally, if you look at decisions that human beings make, we make decisions with a bias. We make decisions on incomplete information.
Yes.
I believe that nearly or perhaps every decision that we will make of any importance in the future will be made with a Watson by our side.
But that's not letting the computer actually make its own choices for us. It's giving us options that we then select from. So it's more of an addition as opposed to something supplanting myself.
That's right. Okay. So, you know, think of the simple demonstration we did, although complex technology, around Wikipedia. Think about Watson, where it has ingested all of the world's information on drug therapies, cocktails for oncology, for cancer. I don't know about you, Alex, but if I had cancer, God forbid, and the cancer board was meeting to decide what chemotherapy they were going to give me, I would want Watson
to have gone through and
to
just
be sitting at that cancer board to augment the decision and, you know, say, hey, you know, guess what? You may want to rethink that based on this piece of information, or here's a new con for that procedure.
Okay, but as Watson or platforms like it get smarter over time, will they less and less be helpmeets and more leaders in our lives, or will they always kind of maintain that secondary status in how we make choices? I mean, will I ever kind of hand off, in a way, stuff to Watson or its ilk?
Yeah, I think there'll always be a set of decisions, you know, life and death and those sorts of decisions, or moral decisions, where it'll be a joint decision, but we as humans will always have the control position. But I think as time goes on, more and more decisions will be able to allow the system to make. Think about Internet of Things, where we need constant rapid response in milliseconds. You know, I want that system making those decisions in real time versus waiting for me to be able to digest something in seconds or minutes.
So for all of our daily lives in, say, 5 or 10 years, you know, does Watson power apps and experiences we already use and control, or is it a standalone product that I would talk to? Or is it more baked in or stand out?
Yeah, so it's going to be a combination. I predict it's going to be literally everywhere. It will be powering things that you just take routine in your daily life. If you're applying or buying something, Watson will be behind that, enhancing your experience. But it will also be visible in many of your applications where you're being creative or you want information that you just don't have time. So I think it's going to be both invisible and highly visible, basically ubiquitous in everything that we do.
But to be fair, you want Watson to be a brand name in technology. I mean, am I going to have like a Powered by Watson sticker on my phone?
Incredibly, Alex, Watson is already the premier brand in artificial intelligence and cognitive computing. Not something we set out to do, but through the demonstration and Jeopardy and whatnot, and what we've already applied it to, it already has very broad span brand recognition. So as we move forward, we'll decide whether we want to do Powered by Watson, or we already, for instance, opened up a new division of IBM around Watson Health.
Sure.
And so, as
which is your take on the healthcare vertical as an
industry. That's our healthcare vertical. Yeah, and you've seen us recently stand up new divisions around Internet of Things, around education. So as Watson then becomes capable of operating in those domains, we'll bring Watson into those areas.